name is Chris, and when I was 6 years old, I was diagnosed with a rare and life-threatening disorder called Hunter's, or MPS II. Growing up with Hunter's always seemed pretty normal to me. I mean, as far back as I could remember, I always knew I had it, so I didn't really have a life before it. But there was one question that always lingered in my mind. I always wanted to know how other people dealt with it. How did people affected with the disorder deal with it? How did their families deal with it? How did their siblings deal with it? So to answer this question, this past summer, I spent 90 days on the road, drove approximately 15,000 miles, and stayed with about 40 different families. Now, each of these families had one person, or at least one person in that family, that had an MPS disorder.
He's like, she's gonna have to have a bone marrow transplant or something, enzyme replacement therapy, something to get put those enzymes back in her body so she can break down the gag that she's storing up, or she's gonna be a donor. But when she got tested, she came up that she had Hurler syndrome also, and so she couldn't be a donor. You love them just like any other kid, and you treat them right, and they'd be all right, I guess. I don't know, really. I don't know really what to say.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Can we?
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you feel when they were diagnosed?
I didn't know what it meant. I didn't realize how serious it was until like within a week. Everyone's like, okay, we're moving to North Carolina to go to Duke University Hospital, and I was like, oh, okay. So it was just really fast.
Do you ever think about how they're going to be in the future down the line?
Yeah, I think about that a lot. Like when Wendy started at kindergarten, I was terrified. I was just so scared for her being made fun of or not making friends. I think what made me like be okay is the fact that I thought maybe she wouldn't realize it if someone was making fun of her, like she wouldn't really know. And I don't know, I think a lot about what it'll be like for her when she's older. And Kaylee, I'm not too worried about because I feel like she's just gonna be fine. Like she'll be great. But Wendy, I do worry about a lot. Yeah. Like I don't know how long she's gonna be in diapers or how long my mom's gonna have to worry about everything, or what happens when she can't go to public school anymore, stuff like that.
What's your name?
Seth Van Osten,
How old are you?
13.
And what disorder do you have?
What disorder do I have?
What do you have, buddy? What's eating your bones?
Hunter syndrome.
His mutation is kind of abnormal.
Well, they're assuming it's a spontaneous mutation. They've done all of the normal testing for the normal mutations, the average mutations, and he's not there. There's not a match for him in any of the however many.
I think 300 or 400
are.
typical mutations in the DNA strand that they look for. Those were all normal. At one point, the doctors were actually calling it Seth syndrome because they were so lost. They were saying, "Oh, we might have discovered something totally brand new."
But it took the geneticist 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's like, "Look at his hands. He's got a storage disorder."
It's either Hurler's or Hunter's, and I'm betting it's Hurler's.
Yeah.
Let's check for clouding.
Because of the severity, he was convinced that it was Hurler's.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then there was no corneal clouding.
And that was number 45, since he's...
45?
45, yeah.
Surgeries.
45 surgeries?
Yes.
He's
Just
had,
shunt-related
he's
surgeries.
had almost 60 surgeries in his life altogether.
Woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he was completely fine, being able to pick up his drink and take a drink, no big deal, tracking the cup just fine. But at 6 o'clock, when my shift started, he woke up completely. And really, I mean, after the surgery, the day after, well, a day and a half after, and when they wanted him to stand up, and he stood up flat-footed and walked
Walked into the
flat-footed.
bathroom because he was going to pee on his own. He didn't need
He didn't want any help.
bedpan.
And he had not walked flat-footed in
I don't
years.
know.
I mean,
can't
since he was
remember.
probably, well, he didn't walk until he was about 3, but like 3, whenever he was able to stand, it was the first time we had seen him stand flat-footed with straight feet out for many years. And he said, the first thing he said in the PICU after surgery was, "Hey, my back doesn't hurt." And we didn't know he was having back pain. I mean, he never really seemed to have, it was leg pain and it was head pain. And so, yeah, we saw several changes immediately after surgery. He started dreaming. He never dreamt before. He never went into REM. I think it was like 3 minutes a night or something.
Well,
he would go
95%
into
of his REM was apneic, so he
Yeah.
didn't really have dreams.
And so the second night after he was coming off of the sedation and stuff, he dreamt and
And he talked and he laughed and he yelled in his
cried.
sleep.
It was amazing. It was awesome. I mean, for years he's been on life support at night for his apnea, and that was the first time. That night at the hospital was the first time I had ever heard him other than snore in his dream. And he laughed, he yelled my name, he cried, tears came out. I mean, like, it was very obvious he was sleeping better.
Okay, with MPS compared to 2, perfectly okay. Even though that's not correct to say, but yeah.
I understand.
Sleep deprivation. What else? Expensive, yeah.
No doubt.
There's a lot of time to do a lot of things and no time to get anything done. If that makes any
Do you
sense.
think it's had any positive influence over the other 2?
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely has made us a stronger family. It's made us appreciate what we have a lot more. Finding the silver lining, so to speak, on the darkest possible cloud out there. There's always something that we can find to smile about and enjoy and find the positives in all the experience.
Well, and I think it gives the other 2 kids the ability to understand other people and differences between people. That it's not necessarily, just because they can't play basketball, doesn't mean that they can't play basketball. There are ways. We are huge on inclusion. And so they've learned a lot of different ways to modify things, accommodate, for what Seth's disability is particularly. And I think that definitely gives them
Well, that's the other positive too, I think, is that if you were to ask either one of the kids, or even Seth himself, if he was disabled, or if they saw him as disabled, or in any way, shape, or form different, they wouldn't see him that way. We don't live that way, and it's just, again, like Missy was saying, it's given a different perspective and appreciation for everything that's out there in the world, because everyone's got their outside the home. There's been a lot of positives too, because people, especially at school, all kinds of places, they always talk about how much Seth is inspirational to them, because no matter what's happening, no matter what he's gone through, what surgeries or whatever, and they see him, he's always ready to go out and live and be happy, and he smiles and he's happy to see people. And they've always said things like, whenever life's really got me down, I think, oh my God, I don't know how I can get over this or get through all this stuff. And then they see Seth and they think, you know what? It's really not that much, because Seth can come here in his neck brace, in his wheelchair, and he's hurting and he's tired, and he'd still be like, oh hey, how you doing? And he's all happy to see his friends, and he's smiling, and he kind of brightens up everyone's
Well,
world.
that's what they see. I mean, he crashes every time, but that's what they see. He can,
But it's not about the crashing. It's about the fact that no matter how hard things are, no matter how many surgeries are, no matter how difficult his life is, he's always wanting to get past those parts and continue. You know? He's like a little Tonka truck.
Until I was 17, I walked, though.
Until 17 you did walk?
I did walk, yes.
Okay. And then you had the surgery, or?
When I was 17, I had surgery.
Okay. We were just talking in the other room about people in public looking at you and...
Yeah. People now, when I'm in the wheelchair, they look at me when I go by, but it did bother me a long time, but it's still annoying, but...
You're getting used to it, I guess?
I'm used to it, but...
Okay. Have you found it difficult to make friends because of your disability?
Probably, just because I can't really go to college and be normal and then go to work and just like that. But
what a terrible day it is when you get that diagnosis. I mean, I so distinctly remember being in the exam room and the geneticist turning to us and saying that they thought Aiden had, well, Hurler syndrome at the time, but a form of MPS, and I just remember you, like, completely lost it, and so did I. We had to leave the room.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely never forget that day. The geneticist turned around, he examined Aiden, and you could, then all of a sudden his whole demeanor changed. You could tell he was very nervous because he knew we were physicians as well. And he turned around and his hands were shaking a little bit, and I just looked at that and I saw his body language and I said, oh my God, this is not going to be good. This is not going to be good. You could just tell that he was about to drop a serious bomb on us. Which obviously is a difficult part of his job in dealing with rare disorders and having to inform parents of these kind of rare genetic disorders. But I could tell even he was nervous and his body language totally changed. I remember that incident and I just knew right then we were about to get some terrible news.
You guys got the diagnosis after myself and some other people were nice enough to donate our bodies and let sides do what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they had Elfrey, so...
Yeah, I mean, we are so indebted to you and all the other boys in the trial that allowed Elaprase to come and be FDA approved, because our diagnosis of Hunter syndrome is markedly different than families, 10 years ago, because we had the diagnosis and then we had a treatment to turn to, which is not a cure, but it certainly helps quite a bit. So we're really fortunate that Aiden was diagnosed in this era, where there is where there is ERT to turn to. Those early years of not knowing which way Aiden was going to go were so scary. Scary isn't even the right word. I mean, to think about having to watch your son lose their skills. We're fortunate that we haven't had that yet.
Yeah, the first couple of years were very, very difficult. Put a huge stress on Jen and I, and our relationship, our marriage, and just every aspect. It was a life stressor that we never anticipated having to deal with.
There's still for me a disconnect, just because people don't really understand what it's like to live with this diagnosis and all that it entails. And it's not for lack of them wanting to help and be emotional about it. It's just I feel lonely a lot of the time trying to deal with all that this disease means and all the upkeep that it requires. There's always going to be a yin and a yang for me between accepting the disease and fighting it off. And I have periods where I just, I'm in a denial state, and then like most recently where Aiden's been falling a lot, I've had to sort of confront MPS and deal with it and see specialists and get tests. But for me, I think it's always a battle between pushing it away and accepting it, that I walk a fine line, but...
Yeah, I think some of the first shock is just sort of accepting the news that you have a child that has a progressive and potentially early life ending disorder, and then you come into grips with because when you have a child, you think you want your hopes and dreams are for them to do everything and be successful and have every opportunity, and so some of the difficulty too is accepting that you have a child that's going to have special needs and is going to be a little different from his peers, and the struggles that are going to come with that, and you sort of have to rethink your priorities and in terms of what you think long term for your child, and you sort of because you always think, oh, I want my child to be the captain of the football team and all this. You have all these hopes and dreams for your children, and then it changes. When you're given this diagnosis, and suddenly you're realizing, well, he's going to be there's going to be some limitations, and you have to accept that and sort of reshift what your expectations are for a child and what you know basically we focus on now, just making sure that he's happy and has close friends and isn't in pain or suffering, and just try to build confidence and give him the tools he needs to navigate through the obstacles that he's going to face, you know, in the years to grips with that and deal with the sort of the feeling of loss almost a little bit that comes with the diagnosis.
I read an article once how so much of parenting is future directed because you want your kids to excel. And when you have a child with a chronic illness, it can't be a future directed job. It's very much of a now job and how they're doing now and what makes them happy now and not where they're going to go to school or what they're going to do when they grow up. So it's a shift in how you parent. And I think my biggest message is hope. And I grab that every day. You
know, your world kind of stops initially when you're given that diagnosis, but life goes on. You learn to adapt. And you learn to shift, and like Jen says, you learn to find hope and find meaning in little things, and that you have outlets to people to talk to, people to, you know, that you don't just bottle it all up and let it eat you inside. That you have to find a way to find a new balance in life, because it's obviously a huge stress, and it puts a huge stress on family and on your relationships with others, within the family, outside the family, and it impacts every aspect of your life, and so you have to find a way to find a new balance and sort of manage all that stress in a positive way, and not withdraw from life and not withdraw from friends and family, and ultimately just embrace the diagnosis, embrace the difference, and charge forward.
And have more kids, because our daughter has been such a blessing.
Yeah, I would agree.
And also for Aiden, I think having a brother and a sister to be his backup, you know, when we're not there anymore, I think it's one of the biggest things we can give him is a big family to have his back.
I'm Jimmy Rice.
Willow Rice.
And who are your children?
Amelia and Jacob. Amelia's 7, NPS 3A, and Jacob is unaffected.
And that is not Amelia screaming.
No, that's Jacob.
Okay.
Amelia's in bed, quiet as a mouse.
Very interesting for an MPS child to be the well-behaved one.
She is now. She used to be more like Jacob.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell me when you guys first started to realize there might have been something wrong? No, but what I mean is, when was she diagnosed with MPS 3?
Here in Tucson. Last year, March 3rd, 2011, she was 5.5.
How many years after?
We've been here 2.5, almost 3. It'll be 3 years in September.
Yeah, we got here in September of 2009.
So we were here about 1.5 years. You know, once she was diagnosed with autism, it took me a long time to get her into a geneticist and a neurologist, and once we did, then that was when because nobody really wants to dig deeper into that diagnosis. That was the hardest part about it. You know, even though we kind of knew I'd even had people tell me, like therapists, like, you know, she doesn't really fit the autism mold. I mean, maybe she has something genetic, you know, and then, no doctors really want to look into that. I don't think they just say, oh, it's autism.
It's autism,
and
push
so,
us away.
She still has the autism diagnosis, though.
She has both?
No, we keep the diagnosis because she gets ABA therapy, applied behavioral analysis. And we like her in that therapy. That's the one therapy that we keep, and we keep the autism diagnosis strictly so that she will get that therapy. It's a secondary diagnosis, and every year, you know, I took her to the developmental pediatrician, and she just kind of didn't really address the autism.
Would you have any advice or anything you'd say to people just being diagnosed?
Prepare for a ride. I think that the best advice I could give them would be to quickly find other MPS parents, and to go to a conference.
So they're going to give you the best advice
Because
out of anybody.
that was, for us, that was like the moment when I was like, oh my God. We
didn't
are
feel
not alone.
I would say, I think that's one of the biggest things. You
That
feel
was
like
the
you're
best
alone.
feeling. Yeah, oh.
And it's not, I mean, it's not like you don't feel bad for the other families, but it's just like, you know, somebody who understood you, you didn't have to explain anything. And me and Willow were, I mean, we kind of look and see the other kids running around and like Amelia did and chewing on things. And we were like, everyone was perfectly like, that's normal.
But
to
people
us.
weren't staring.
Yeah.
People weren't looking at you funny. You didn't have to explain why your 7-year-old was chewing on a baby wipe because she picked it up, or you know, I mean, you didn't. But I would say that would be the biggest thing. But also, make sure that you can only do what you can handle. I mean, if you think that you need medicine or a therapist or, you know what I mean? If you think you need it, don't like withhold it from yourself. Go get help. I mean, you need to have somebody to talk to.
I can give you a prime example. When me and Willow went to the NPS conference, there were some families that was like, yeah, my kid doesn't sleep, and then Willow was like, give her trazodone, or and they was like, well, we don't want to do that to our kids. And it's like, well, what are you going to sacrifice here? Are you going to sacrifice your own sleep, and you'd be absolutely miserable?
Or their sleep too.
And their sleep. That's what she means by sacrifice. What are you willing? Are you willing to sacrifice your own sleep and be miserable? Because that's what you're going to be.
And I also have to say, choose your battles. I just say, work with what you've got. I don't know. Be open. Be just patient, I guess. Easygoing. You have to let it, I don't know, ride with the waves. There's a lot of ups and downs. And you gotta be able to take it all in. If you feel that potty training is a battle you want to choose to fight, then fight it. We learn to let go of certain things. You know what? She's never gonna be potty trained. Okay, not even gonna try it. Let it be. She's never gonna give up the sippy cup. Let her have it. If she wants to eat Tutti Fruttis all day, let her eat them. What's it gonna hurt? That's how we are.
Chewing was a battle that I get. It drives me nuts. But that's something that I realize that I can't beat.
Education. Make sure you know more about MPS than any, because I guarantee you the doctors here don't know. I walk into the doctor's office educating them about MPS 3.
All the time.
It doesn't give me a very good feeling, but at least I can go in and I know what they're talking about. I can relate to them because it's like I'm on their level with this. You know what I mean? Doctors are always know more than you about things, but when you walk in with this, it's like you're on an even playing field almost, because you know as much more than they do. But make sure that you know MPS 3, and it'll take a while. I'm still learning about it, and it's been a year, but just make sure that you educate yourself about it.
Yeah.
Because that's the best thing.
I was going to say, I could walk into this hospital right here and ask if anybody knows about MPS 3, or MPS for that matter, and they would all look at me like, what are you talking about? And that's very common, like for every person that I've talked to, nobody's ever heard of it. And the other thing that I would say is, if you do find out that you have MPS, if you have other family members, try to urge them to get tested too, just to make sure that, they understand what kind of battle that they could be going up against. I think that's a good bit of advice. And I'm not going to say that they're always going to take to it, but encourage them.
So are you one day gonna tell him to?
Tell
Of
him?
course.
Or,
Yeah, test him to see if he's a carrier. Yeah.
I don't know if you have already, but
No, we haven't. Yeah, we will. That's a whole...
Because he'll have to realize what kind of battle. But that's things that I worry about right now with him, is that he's going to have to deal with that stuff with this. When he gets older, he's going to start understanding more about his sister. And I guarantee you, me and Willow don't even know how to explain it to him right now. But it's something that I think about. You know what I mean? Because I think it's going to be really hard on him, because He's used to his sissy being around him.
Because that's the hardest thing for me is, because I took a class about death and dying last semester. And that was one of the hardest things, like, you have to think about how you're going to tell your child when, how much. I mean, what do you tell him? You know what I mean? Because you know that, me knowing, well, I know where my mind goes with all that, you know, and I don't want to make my other child think about that, you know what I mean?
is there anything you guys like to finish out with, or say, or final words of wisdom, or?
I don't think wisdom, we're not like the hardened veterans here. I mean, we're just starting out, and I mean, you know, we're just starting out.
I have to say, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. We're just, I mean, now if you want to talk about autism or special needs or anything like that, you know, I've got that under my belt, you know, but it's because to me, Amelia really is the same with MPS 3 as she was before. I mean, we've always been in this world. Amelia she never talked. She was never able to communicate verbally or non-verbally. So for us, life didn't really change a lot. I mean, emotionally it did, but like nothing really was dramatically different.
The fits have changed. I would say her fits have went down.
But
there for a while, that was something that, I mean, just like.
But we called it autism.
Yeah, like there was like I remember going into Old Navy one time, and I was like, "Oh, the lights are too bright. It's affecting her autism."
Well, she did have sensory issues. She did have sensory issues.
She might have. But
I mean, it was hard. I guess Amelia's, but Amelia just kind of did it at a different age, I guess. You know, Amelia's was a little bit different, which is kind of weird. But so we already went through that phase. I mean, that was from like day one that she did that, you know. But now that she's got the brain damage, I guess, if you want to call it, she's kind of regressing, and she's like in her own little world, and things don't bother her. She's oblivious, and on one hand, it's really nice because we can take her out in public, but on the other hand, we know why, and that's hard.
At what age did you guys start to realize there was something not quite right?
Pretty much from the beginning, since he never passed his newborn hearing test.
We knew something was up right away. Oh, he's special needs. Now, you know, all of a sudden, well, we can't babysit, or you start getting a little, I don't know how to take care of him, or I'm afraid to take care of him type of thing. It wasn't it took everybody a little while to come around.
Has raising a special needs child taught you guys anything?
Yeah, you definitely learn to value the day-to-day a little more. Your standards change. You know, I don't think about, he's got to go to the best school. You know, we're gonna think, we don't even think about college anymore. You know, or what's he gonna be when he grows up? You know, what kind of family is he gonna have? Now it's just, this is our life, and you know, as the disease progresses, you know, he'll start to lose function. You know, there's a very strong chance that we will outlive him. So we're just going to enjoy the day-to-day and focus on being happy and making sure that he's happy and healthy. And that's
definitely have to have a little bit more patience with Ray. You know, obviously the frustrating thing is with him is he's just not developing very slowly. You know, and you see our other friends that have kids around his age, and they're just, they're just going so much faster than he is. So, you know, that's frustrating, and it's tough to deal with, but, you know, it's the hand we were dealt, and we just do the best we can.
If you were asked to speak to people that had a kid that was just diagnosed, what would you say? What kind of advice or words of wisdom?
Breathe. Breathe slowly and breathe deeply. I remember, for me, the first 6 months, it felt like the world was going about 200 miles an hour around me, and I couldn't go faster than 2 miles an hour. you know, everything just felt like it was just flying by, and I just couldn't even come close to keeping up. That all of the emotions and all the feelings are normal, and that eventually it takes a little while, but you learn to manage it all. And, you know, it's not the end of the world, it's just a different world.
I just help out my wife every time I can. She's awesome. She takes the bull by the horns and gets it all scheduled. And I just say, "Sweetie pie, where do you want me to take them? Where's my
Where am I going?
what's my next chore?" This experience does make you feel like gives you a certain direction in life. You know, I was not really looking for a cause or anything, but you know,
You found it.
now I've got one. So, and it's, you know, something to be a part of, and you know, and enjoy the community aspect of it.
Would you give them any advice or anything you could think of?
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Like, they'll hit a lot. That kind of stuff.
I would probably give him advice, and like, he can't really talk, so you can't understand him. He hits, but when he's like being nice, he will hug you, or she'll hug you, and that's when he's like, it's fun to be around him.
Did you ever have to explain to your friends?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Is it because they make fun of you about it, or do you feel like you have to explain it?
It would just be like the first meeting, they would like come over and I'd be like, "Oh, that's my brother Taylor," and then later they would ask like, "What's wrong?" Like if we know, like they would notice like his physical like hands and stuff, or like, "Oh, he just has a bone and joint disorder," just you know.
Going out in public, do you ever see anyone pointing and laughing at him or doing anything else like that?
I don't think I've ever seen pointing and laughing, but I've seen like little kids staring and parents just kind of staring. And
how does that make you feel?
I get really protective because I don't want them to automatically assume like, "Oh, he's little, like he's probably retarded," you know. I shouldn't say retarded, but you know, mentally like slow,
That's
not
okay.
there, you know. And so like I get really protective, and if I see them like looking too long, I'll kind of like give them the look and just kind of be like, "You can stop now. It's okay. Like he's not gonna attack you or anything. Like he's normal." It bugs me, but I've kind of learned to just kind of look past it and embrace that he's my brother, because I don't know.
Okay, I don't understand that. Do you think that having Taylor in the family has taught you anything about life or people?
I feel like it's not something that I think about it automatically, because it's like I'm so used to him being my brother. It just makes me, if anything, it makes me appreciate him more and what he's had to go through and all the surgeries he's been through. And even like, I know high school was kind of a tough time, because even some of the I remember one of the run-ins he had with the cafeteria lady who thought he was from the elementary school down the street. And so it's made me kind of realize to not just automatically look at somebody and assume. I mean, that's kind of a traditional thing, but I don't know. I just have grown to really appreciate who he is, and I don't know, everything he contributes to our family, because it wouldn't be the same without him and stuff.
So do you think that's goes to other people now too?
Yeah, I think so. I just think that too much, like, people focus on like perfection or looking the right way and stuff like that, but like you look at Taylor and like he's buff and he's strong, but like clearly he doesn't look like me or like my brother-in-law or my dad, which is fine, you know. I don't see anything wrong with it, and I think people can like look past that too, or they should look past it, you know, and realize that just because he looks different doesn't mean he is like completely different. Like, he's the funniest kid I know and has the best attitude about everything, and he's, I don't know, taught me a lot, and made me realize that like I can be better and I can do better because he's doing so well and he's handling his condition so well that I really shouldn't have anything inhibit myself from doing well in life too, you know?
Okay, so it's definitely all positive.
Yeah.
If you were actually talk to a family of, and not a family, a sibling of a newly diagnosed person, what would you say? How would you, what advice or warnings?
I would tell them that, like, obviously it's going to be hard because, I mean, I wasn't around when he went through all of the, you know, the bone marrow transplants and stuff, so obviously it's going to be hard, but I wouldn't trade him in for anything else. Like, he's the best brother I could ever ask for. He's always there for me, and no matter what size he is, what his body looks like, he's the same person, and it all works out for the end, and I know having him has really made me a better person and has really blessed my life, and sorry, but...
Keep tearing up?
Yeah.
Aww.
Sorry.
You want me to stop?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd want to say to anyone?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for coming home early from your party.
Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed watching my journey as much as I enjoyed going on it. And I hope you guys took something away from it. I can tell you that the one thing I took away from it was no matter who you are or where you come from, life will give you a challenge. Now it's your job to decide how you're going to deal with that challenge. You can either overcome it or back down. Now, most of the people in this video, I personally believe, did rise to the occasion. So, until next time, have a lovely day.
These words that I proclaim, they might sound cliche, but you gotta do what you gotta do to keep from going insane. It's not about losing the weight, it's not about making the grade, it's about creating your own fate through the love you cultivate. It's not about trying to be perfect, it's not just scratching the surface. You have a beauty, so much more than just skin deep. Don't care what people say, just follow your own way. It's not about waiting for the storm to pass, it's about dancing in the rain. Dancing in the rain. It's not about hit or miss, it's about following your bliss. It's about being brave. Your own life you gotta save from drowning in the sea of mediocrity. Don't let them tell you who to be, only you can set you free. It's about planting the seed, it's about being who you need instead of throwing away the key. Being open to receive, no matter what your age. If you're black, white, straight or gay, there's no more time for shame, 'cause you're dancing in the rain. Dancing in the rain. We're dancing in the rain. Dancing in the rain. Smoke from a burning flame. With every dream there comes a haze. Gotta have some faith when you're dancing in the rain. These words that I proclaim, they might sound cliche, but you gotta do what you gotta do, 'cause you're dancing in the rain. Dancing in the rain. Just dancing If at first you don't receive it, pick yourself up, don't stop believing. When you're scared and feeling cheated, just remember you are needed. How can they say we've been defeated? We're here together, dancing in the rain. Dancing in the rain. Just dancing in the rain. Dancing in the rain. Dancing in the rain.